for this week's Sky Talk, Monday, March 8th through March 15th. This is Peggy Hernandez from the U46 School District Planetarium, and Mars is still putting on a pretty good show, even though it's dimming every night, and will continue to do so for a couple of months until it's out of view. And it's going right between the Pleiades and Taurus, the bull, Aldebaran. It's in Taurus, but it'll be kind of slinking between these two, and we'll go look at that in just a few minutes. But there's something else that's been in the sky. This is a photo from a telescope, and that arrow is pointing to something that looks like a dot, and everything else looks like a little line. And that's because that dot is an asteroid called Apophis. And the telescope was trained on the asteroid, which is moving in front of the stars. So as the telescope moved, all these stars behind it look like a little line, a line segment. That's the amount that the telescope moved to keep on track with following Apophis. Now, Apophis this month was about 10 million miles away from us. It just passed us. It was a near-Earth asteroid at 10 million miles away. Absolutely no danger at all. But what's interesting is in 8 years, Apophis is going to come way closer on its next go-around. In other words, Apophis is going to be about 20,000 miles from us. It's going to be about as far as some of our high-altitude communication satellites, which is pretty amazing. It is way closer to us than the moon. It will be in April of 2029. It is not expected to hit us. Oh my goodness. I think that I felt like I was losing brain cells on Google looking at this. It is not going to hit us no matter what you see on some of these crazy websites. Here is the expected error of the trajectory. And this bluish line, this is the path that it's going to take as it goes past us in about 8 years, when it's only going to be 20,000 miles away. That is pretty close to us. As a matter of fact, scientists think you'll be able to see it for a few hours just with your eyes if you are on the right side of the Earth. I didn't go into that much detail. We've got 8 years to figure that out. But it should be visible to the naked eye for a few hours in 8 years. By the next day, it'll already be too far away to see, but definitely an easy telescope object. So that asteroid's name is Apophis. It is not expected to be some kind of Armageddon, but it is going to come pretty close to us in a few years. So I'm going to leave this screen and let's switch over to our night sky tonight. Here we have March 8th, Monday night at 5:40, facing south. There's the sun going down in the west. And if I fast forward time just a little bit, you'll see that sunset is at about 5:53. We're really close to the time change, which is actually going to happen a week, it's going to happen on the night of the 13th. Sunday the 14th, we will be in daylight savings time. So we will notice a quick jump. But right now, it's already not dark at 6 o'clock. So it will be not dark at 7 o'clock in the very near future. We're going to definitely feel like we're headed towards spring. If you Google why we have daylight savings time, there's about 100 different stories out there, from some guy in New Zealand that liked to collect bugs and he wanted more afternoon hours free with the sun up so he could collect bugs. The alternative one is Benjamin Franklin in the fall didn't like that he was an early bird, and when he was up walking around town at 5 or 6 in the morning, he wanted the shops to be open. So he wanted to adjust the time so that people got up earlier and could enjoy the daylight hours when it wasn't too incredibly hot outside. So I don't know the full story. Those you can Google. There's stories all over the place. But here we are at 5:51. The sun is just about to set. And that's when the sky changes. I'm going to drag this down a little bit to be distorted, but yet show us a few more stars. And yes, we definitely have some stars showing up by 6:15. You can see a few of them. I would say it's full dark by 7 o'clock. So a week from now, full dark, not until 8 o'clock. So we'll have a lot more evening daylight hours. And interestingly enough, it's actually going to be dark in the morning if you get up kind of early, for at least a few weeks until the sun is rising even earlier, as it does in the summer. Our days are lengthening on both ends. The sun's rising earlier and it's setting later. So here's 7 o'clock. I'll pause here See if you can spot some friendly, familiar constellations in our March sky. We've got Orion the Hunter. We've got Sirius, the brightest star in the sky, which is attached to the big dog. We have Gemini the Twins kind of up high in the southeast. Leo the Lion is clearly up above the horizon. And here are the lines to all those constellations. And here are the drawings. Orion the Hunter, the big rectangle, 3 stars in a belt, helps you find Aldebaran, the eye of the bull. And that letter V is Taurus the bull. And the Pleiades. Now what's interesting, this time, this year, we zoom in a little bit towards that, we've got Orion the Hunter, and there's the stars of Taurus the bull, the letter V. If you follow them up, it goes to the tips of the horns. It's just the face of the bull. But in the bull, we also have what's called the Pleiades. It's a beautiful little structure, and right in between the two, we have the planet Mars. Mars is about as bright as the eye of the bull right now. So we've got red-orange Mars, red-orange eye of the bull, and red-orange Betelgeuse, kind of in a line this week. But keep in mind, Mars is moving around the sun. So as we go forward in time, that Mars, and I'll go forward to Tuesday the 9th, and here's Wednesday the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th. Notice that a week later, we're going to have Mars up above both of them, and it will eventually go out of Mars and continue on past Taurus in towards Gemini. And at that time, it will be very difficult to see, and that won't be until another month from now. It's getting dimmer and it's getting lower on the horizon. So let's go back out to our nighttime sky. Let's turn off those drawings. If you spin to the left, we might want to notice, we're on the wrong date here. Let's go back to the 8th. If we go to the 8th, there is no moon in our evening sky. Let's look towards the east a little bit more. Still no moon in our evening sky. Gemini, the twins are way up high right there. I'll draw in the twins. They're kind of lying on their side as you face east. Their feet are always towards Orion's head. Here's Leo the Lion up high in the sky. If we look way up high in the east, towards the left is north. The Big Dipper's actually over there. And kind of see Aldebaran, the eye of the bull, over there as well. Now, what we have right here in between Gemini and Leo is the constellation Taurus. We've got the beehive cluster, a neat fuzzy thing to look for inside. But the problem is we can't see any of them in our suburban skies. Our light pollution is so bad that all these stars, they're all 3s, 4s, and 5s. They're not bright enough for us to see with our light pollution. Millions of people, we live in the Chicagoland area, they turn on lights at night. We do it for safety. And particularly with new LED lights, they're very damaging to the night sky because they're so incredibly bright and they bounce off the earth and they go up into the atmosphere where it is refracted and reflected, and it ends up making our sky look kind of a grayish pink color instead of its pitch black that it should be. But the bright stars still show up. So if we look a little bit more towards the north, we can see the Big Dipper. Oh yeah, Big Dipper stands out right away. They're relatively bright. Not the Little Dipper. Don't look at the Big Dipper and yell Little Dipper. The Big Dipper is the one that you see. The Big Dipper is the one that's standing up on its handle right in front of you here in the northeast. And if you follow the pointer stars, the last 2 in the saucepan, they'll guide you to the North Star. That one you can see. It's not bright, but you can see it even in suburban skies. The rest of it, that is the rest of the Little Dipper. The rest of it is a little bit challenging to find in suburban skies. These middle stars are usually not visible, but these 2 are. And if we draw in the pictures, we'll see that the Big and Little Bear are the names of the constellations that hold the asterisms called the Big and Little Dipper. They're like little pictures inside of a full constellation. And that is looking towards the north. And then we'd be back facing towards the west if we keep going. But let's hang out in the eastern sky for just a moment. And if we let time go on, we let the Earth keep spinning sort of in fast motion, it's clearly visible that the stars rise in the east. And if I even go a little towards the south, you can maybe tell that they're sort of evening out because stars rise in the east, they go across the sky, and they set in the west. So here's the midnight sky. on March 9th. And if we keep going across the sky, rising in the east, setting in the west, eventually we're going to be at sunrise. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, not quite yet, but we are going to have the sun coming up shortly. But there's something neat that's happening. We've got some planets lined up that before the sun comes up, you can actually see them. So if you're an early bird like Benjamin Franklin, early on March 9th, what we have is an amazing waning crescent moon, which means it's getting smaller because every day it's moving to the left, getting closer to the sun. But if I zoom in, we have Saturn, Jupiter, and Mercury, all visible Tuesday morning, early morning. Saturn and Jupiter are actually getting a little farther and up to the right. They're getting a little easier to see every day. Mercury's going to get worse this week. So, and Jupiter's pretty bright. Jupiter and Saturn are up before the sun. We have the waning crescent moon in the sky tomorrow morning. And what's going to happen is the next day, it's going to be even closer to the sun. And then the next day, it'll be even closer to the sun. And I'm going to suspect around the 11th or 12th is probably the new moon. And if I fast forward time just a little bit, we should be able to see how close the moon is to the sun. Because here with Stellarium, I'm going to let our eyes see it. Oh, we're not at new moon yet. There we go. If we go forward, say, another date of the 13th, there we go. Now, I have the moon 10 times bigger than it really is in the sky. It's actually the same size as that little yellow dot. But on the 13th, we'll have that new moon. The sun is clearly up above the horizon at 6:52 in the morning on March 13th. And there's lots of cool things to look at in the sky. Those planets, if you're early morning, are fantastic. And if you want to get some perspective, think of it as looking at the solar system from far, far away. We can see that we have morning planets and we have evening planets. So if I line up the Earth with the sun right here, so you're on the right side of the Earth here, you're right at sunrise. Yes, you can see Mercury and Jupiter and Saturn. They're actually lined up like that with the sun. But if we go this way, and let's say we're on the other side of the Earth, like right here at day and night, right at sunset, not sunrise. So now we're on the opposite side of the Earth. As soon as it gets dark out, we can look up in the sky and we can see Mars. And the interesting thing is Stellarium lines everything up correctly. So if you really look at this, you can see Taurus the bull right here and the Pleiades. And from our view, where we're at, Mars ends up being right in between those two on our night to night. So go out on a clear night. Hopefully it's nice out tonight. If not, check tomorrow night and the next night and the next night. And try to find Mars in the sky and some of these amazing early spring constellations. I'll see you next time.